Now you know how data and data types work, especially how to get and to discover any specific data type of a piece of data from a piece of data. Now you're going to understand the data types themselves, alright? Because there are many in Python. So first we are going to understand the general data types. I call the general data types 3 data types. So the first one you already know. So Felipe, this data type is string, right? So let's get type name. If I call this, I'm gonna see that this is string. String is basically the data type of texts in Python, alright? So every text is a string. So Felipe, I could put here Felipe Matos, still a string, alright? I could put here Felipe Matos is 30 years old, pay attention, still a string. I could put 30 here, call it age, and still this would be a string, alright? This would be a text, and I can prove this to you. If I try to calculate this like age plus 1, you're going to see that we're going to have a problem here. Can you see? Age receives 30. Why this way? Oh, the file is data types, alright? Why this way works, but this way it doesn't work? Because this is not a number. This is a text. This is a string. And if we call the type here, we are going to see that it's a string, right? But Felipe, I'm seeing the number 30. It doesn't matter. You could put here any number that you want. If it's between double quotes, it's a text. For Python, it's a text. You can put a number here, but Python is going to interpret it as a text. So this makes a huge difference. And this is pretty important for you to understand, because when you start to make some calculations in Python, if you put a number between quotes, you are not creating, you're not declaring, you're not assigning a number. You are assigning, creating, generating, anyway, a text, alright? I hope this is clear, because if it's not, you're going to face some problems in the future. Alright, so this is the first general data type, is text. So every text must be between quotes. We have another general data type, that is the data type Boolean. This is one of the most important data types of programming, right? Because this data type indicates if something is true or false, right? For example, is Felipe minor? Of course not, because he's 30 years old, right? So I can put the data false and pay attention. We need to put this data with uppercase, right? If you write false like this, Python doesn't recognize as a boolean. All right, we need to literally put the uppercase here. All right, so if I call the type in the minor variable, you can read this like a question, right? So minor, and then you store the boolean data type that represents the boolean data that represents the answer. Okay, read it like this and you are not going to have any problem. All right, so if I call the file, we are going to see that is this data type is boolean, right? Programmer, true. Is Felipe a programmer? Let me put the name here again. All right, so Felipe, age 30, minor, false, programmer, true. You know, that's how you read a boolean variable. So if I call here, let's get the data type boolean. Okay, don't forget the uppercase when you assign the data true and the data false. These are the only data types that represent in Python a boolean. Okay, in other languages you can represent this as zeros and ones. In databases you can represent as y and n. All right, yes, no, active, inactive. Anyway, there are many abstract ways to represent a boolean data, but here in Python we have these two only, false and true, both with uppercase. Okay, and the last general data type is the none. All right, so let's create one variable here, full courses, and let me use this situation to show you that a variable must not have spaces. All right, you can see here that I have put an underscore to separate the name of the variable that has two names, you know, so it's not full courses like this. It's full underline underscore courses, right? I can put here the non-data type that is basically empty. It's a data that represents that doesn't exist, right? That is empty, that is null. You are going to see this word a lot. All right, so non, null, doesn't exist, empty. Anyway, you can interpret this as it doesn't exist yet, but as it is a variable, this can change. All right, so variables are mutable. You can change the age, you can change, you must change, in fact, 1 year from now you must change the age. If the person is a minor and 1 year later is not, you can change the minor flag here, the minor status, right? If the person changes their profession, you can change here. It's not a programmer anymore, you can change it to false, you know. So all of these are mutable. All of these data are mutable, and they appear a lot. That's why I call them general data types, because string, boolean, and none are data types that you are going to see way often, and you need to know what they mean, right? So these are the general data types. These are some of the real interviews that I recorded to show you how real companies interview developers from inside. Use them to prepare for real interviews and get the job of your dreams. Go to marosacademy.com or click the link below.